Dying social media. I know social media is one of those things that a lot of people tend to look at and be like, this isn't quite as good as it used to be. There's a lot of social media platforms, either if it's Vine or some others that I can't really think of on the top of my head, that have just not been as good as they used to be, or just died in the process. And one that I do want to talk about is one that I personally got into during COVID. It's called Amino. Now, I will say I'm not very common with Amino. In fact, I would say Amino was one of those short bursts of social media platforms that I got into during COVID, especially in the Castle Swimmer community, which was I was getting into Castle Swimmer around that time, so it's understandable why I would get into it. But a lot of my Amino experiences would mostly go into role plays, so it would be like kind of in that same pinnacle space. In the same sense, like Amino to me was just another social media platform that I didn't really use that often. It was on my phone. I'd had it on my phone for a little bit of time. I deleted my account in September 2025, but it shut down in December of 2025. Which is kind of funny because, like, to think that a few months prior I thought about just deleting my account and so it ended up shutting down. Which also meant that the app in itself was no longer available. You couldn't access the website or even anything like that. Which is funny because I actually have a copy of the app right here on what would be my 2022 phone that I was using at the time. Now, to quickly understand what Amino was, it was some form of a nerdy form of a social media platform for communities to gather around and that stuff. Although in some experiences this platform ended up being a very bad platform because this also led on to predators and so thing of being on the platform. Now, the reason why Amino ended up shutting down was a lot of reasons. It was just a ton of things that, of course, me editing the video. The reason why Amino ended up shutting down was because of lack of moderation, which meant that Amino in themselves weren't technically moderating the platform as much. It was mostly people a part of the communities and so thing. This meant that it was very dangerous to minors and other people, which meant that, like, there was no direct line to Amino themselves. So it was a case where if there was trouble, you had to go to the actual volunteers over than Amino, and there was no direct support line. Now, the app would be taken off the platform a couple weeks prior, so it was like a case where anybody who had the app on, let's say, their phone or something, where they had the app, that meant that the app in themselves would have been shut down, and it wouldn't have been a case where you would have been able to use the app anyway. And there was no warning either, so the app was shut down and then the website went down, all the servers were gone. Actually, a story of somebody who had lost like multiple months of work on Amino. Like, there's people who have lost their art or so thing being on Amino, strictly on Amino, instead of using other platforms. Again, my phone has the app on it and it doesn't have any Wi-Fi, so it can't just be thrown off the phone. So I'm going to quickly show the app a little bit, or at least what it was, because, well, I can't really show anything of how it actually used to be, but you would be able to have a community right here, and thing. I have a couple of pictures of it. You would have your messages right here, not between different communities, but like you would have different communities right here, and then yeah, and then you could see that message right there. Here's some other things too, like I can go and you can see right there it actually has a copyright of 2020. I'm guessing they didn't update that much after 2020. They would have announcements, but unfortunately that is not there. Yeah, if you try to do any of that, it won't do any of that. So yeah, that's Amino, at least for what it was. But my past experience with Amino, I personally find it sad that Amino ended up shutting down, because that was one of the things which got me more into Castle Swimmer. I ended up posting a ton of stuff on the Castle Swimmer community. In fact, there was actually a case at one point where I ended up asking for voice actors for what would be the blue shells, the killer blue shells EAS scenario. But yeah, Amino, it is a app I would say is pretty much dead out of the box. I mean, not too much of a surprise at all, but I mean, Again, like I was reading webtoons at the time. But I do think it's very sad how Amino ended up shutting down. I mean, there's some points where some apps there's points where certain apps are more evident than others to shut down. Like Vine, unfortunately, wasn't making that much money for its time, so it didn't have that much to go with. Amino just ended up being one of those unlucky companies. I mean, I think the app probably would have been great if you really think about it, but because of some controversies, you can't even access the website anymore. Like, it's completely gone. Any of the data from the servers or any of that stuff, like if you had characters or OCs or any of that, or stories or anything related with Amino, it was basically gone. Like, nothing. I had at least saved some screenshots because there was actually at points where true fact, Ollie Paul, my OC, actually came out of Amino. Somebody actually made up the art for it for free, and to think that that character was actually born, I can't believe that this app that the character was born on is now gone. But anyways, I just wanted to make this little video on talking about Amino because my experience is I experienced it mostly during COVID, and it's been always on my phone. This phone is probably going to be recycled because, you know, I am going to plan on decommissioning that phone because the actual battery, I think, is starting to swell. So I think it's only going to be so much time before this phone goes and tries to do something, so I want to at least take the battery out and probably replace it, or better yet, just recycle the phone. Expanding on it quite a bit, as you can probably see. Yeah, you can see it. Yeah, there's Amino. So I'm gonna say thank you guys so much for watching this little video. I was gonna not post a video today because of all this, but comment, like, subscribe. I'll see you guys later when I talk about Pride Month.